Most men believe women feel safe because of what is promised. I'll always be here. I'll never leave. I swear you can trust me. But if you've lived long enough, you learn a difficult truth. Promises don't create safety, behavior does. Women have heard the words before. Many times. From men who meant them, and still failed to live up to them. Safety is not something you declare. It is something she feels. In your silence, in your reactions, in the way you carry yourself when things don't go your way. A woman is always watching how a man responds under pressure. Not to judge him, but to understand whether she can relax in his presence or must remain guarded. In this video, we are not talking about manipulation, psychology tricks, or empty confidence. We are talking about the quiet behaviors that make a woman feel secure without you ever needing to promise her anything. If you understand this, everything about your relationships will change. Stay with me. Welcome to the channel, Stoic Love Wisdom. This is where we will learn, explore, and share valuable lessons about love. In today's video, I will reveal to you 5 things that make women feel safe without needing promises, a new perspective, helping you better understand the factors that determine a happy and sustainable relationship. Let's explore with me the secrets to building a strong and meaningful love. Before we start, find a quiet place, put on your headphones and relax. Let all your worries melt away, and let the messages in this video help you calm down and feel the most complete. Are you ready? Let's start now. Article 1. Emotional composure in moments of conflict. When a woman looks at a man, she is not asking herself how poetic his words are, or how intense his emotions feel in the moment. What she is silently asking is something far more primal. When things fall apart, will this man remain steady? I learned this the hard way. In my younger years, I believed passion was proof of love. I thought raising my voice meant I cared. I thought reacting strongly meant I was invested. I was wrong. Passion without control is not strength, it is instability wearing a confident mask. A woman does not feel safe with a man who is ruled by his emotions. She feels safe with a man who rules over them. Emotional composure is not emotional coldness. It is not silence, suppression, or indifference. It is the ability to remain present, calm, and grounded when emotions rise, both yours and hers. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship. 2 different lives, histories, fears, and expectations will eventually collide. What defines a man is not whether conflict appears, but how he shows up when it does. An emotionally composed man does not explode when challenged. He does not retreat into silence as punishment. He does not panic when tension fills the room. He stays. And that alone changes everything. When a woman raises a concern, what she is often testing, consciously or not, is whether the man in front of her can hold emotional weight without collapsing under it. If he becomes defensive, aggressive, or dismissive, her nervous system learns a dangerous lesson: this is not a safe place. But when a man remains calm, listens without interrupting, and responds rather than reacts, something shifts inside her. Her body relaxes. Her voice softens. She begins to trust, not his promises, but his presence. Stoic philosophy teaches us a simple truth. You cannot control events, only your response to them. In love, this truth becomes even more critical. An emotionally undisciplined man believes his feelings justify his behavior. A disciplined man understands that his behavior defines his character, regardless of how he feels. I have watched relationships collapse not because of betrayal, but because the man could not regulate himself. Small disagreements turned into emotional storms. Conversations became battlegrounds. Eventually, the woman stopped speaking, not because she had nothing to say, but because she learned it was safer not to. Safety does not come from never arguing. It comes from knowing that arguments will not turn into emotional chaos. A woman feels safe with a man who does not weaponize anger. Who does not raise his voice to regain control. Who does not disappear emotionally when things get uncomfortable. Instead, he grounds himself. He breathes before he speaks. He listens to understand, not to win. He allows space for emotion without being swallowed by it. This is rare. And rarity creates value. True composure is forged, not learned. It comes from facing discomfort without escape, learning to sit with frustration, disappointment, and fear without allowing them to dictate your actions. A man who has mastered this sends a powerful, unspoken message. No matter what arises, I am stable. And stability is deeply attractive. Because at a biological level, a woman is not seeking excitement alone. She is seeking predictability and strength. She wants to know that when life applies pressure, financial stress, emotional vulnerability, uncertainty, you will not fracture. You will not become someone she has to manage emotionally. You will not turn her feelings into a burden. You will remain grounded. This is why emotional composure creates safety without a single promise. Because promises can be broken. But character reveals itself under pressure. A calm man in conflict tells her, "You don't need to protect yourself from me." And once a woman feels that, she opens. Emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Not because you asked her to. But because she finally can. Love is not always about brilliant moments, but often about patience, listening and accompanying in every small step. It is those simple things that nurture a lasting bond. That is also the reason why I believe that every experience in love is an opportunity for us to grow and become stronger. If you feel this, please click like as a way to spread positivity to more people. And if this is your first time visiting our channel, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any lessons. I also look forward to hearing your thoughts. What is the smallest but most meaningful thing you have ever realized in love? Leave a comment below, maybe your answer will become a source of inspiration for others. Now, let's continue our journey to explore deeper perspectives right away. Article 2. Consistency between words and actions. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she stops listening to what a man says, and starts watching what he does. This moment is not born from bitterness. It is born from experience. I've learned that women don't lose trust because men lie loudly. They lose trust because men change quietly. 1 week he is attentive. The next, distant. 1 month he is certain. The next, unsure. Not enough to cause a confrontation, but enough to create unease. And unease is the enemy of emotional safety. A man who speaks beautifully but behaves inconsistently creates confusion. And confusion forces a woman into a defensive posture. She starts analyzing tone, timing, patterns. She becomes alert instead of relaxed. Not because she wants control, but because her nervous system is searching for stability. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about predictability of character. A Stoic understands this deeply. Reputation is built on repeated behavior, not isolated moments. In relationships, words are easy. Promises are cheap. Intentions sound noble. But none of these provide safety unless they are backed by consistent action over time. A woman feels safe with a man when his mood does not determine his respect. His stress does not excuse his withdrawal. His affection is not a reward she earns by behaving correctly. She feels safe when his presence is reliable, not conditional. In my early years, I didn't realize how damaging inconsistency was. I believed that as long as my intentions were good, fluctuations were normal. I didn't see that every emotional withdrawal, every unkept word, every unexplained shift was silently teaching her one lesson. I cannot depend on this man. Dependability is not exciting, but it is irresistible. A consistent man does not need to reassure constantly. His behavior does the talking. He shows up when he says he will. He follows through on small things. He remains emotionally available even when life is heavy. This does not mean he over-explains or performs affection. It means he moves with integrity. Stoicism teaches us that virtue is not situational. A man is either disciplined, or he is not. Consistency is discipline applied to behavior. It is answering messages with the same respect you had in the beginning. It is maintaining boundaries without becoming distant. It is expressing interest without obsession. And most importantly, it is remaining emotionally steady regardless of circumstance. Women are remarkably perceptive. They notice patterns long before men do. When your actions align with your words over time, her trust deepens organically. She stops questioning. She stops testing. She stops bracing for disappointment. She relaxes into the relationship. And relaxation is intimacy. Inconsistent men often confuse intensity with connection. They believe dramatic highs compensate for emotional unpredictability. But intensity creates adrenaline, not safety. And adrenaline cannot be sustained. A woman does not feel safe with a man who is warm only when it suits him. She does not feel safe with a man whose affection must be chaste. She does not feel safe when consistency depends on her behavior. Safety comes from knowing. This man is who he is, today, tomorrow, and under pressure. A Stoic man understands that his word is not an expression of desire, it is a contract with himself. When he says something, he means it. When he commits, he follows through. Not because he fears losing her, but because he respects himself. And self-respect is contagious. Consistency also signals emotional maturity. It shows that you are not driven by impulse or mood. That you do not need constant validation. That your inner state is regulated, not reactive. This is deeply calming to a woman. Because unpredictability in a man forces her into vigilance. Consistency allows her to rest. And a woman who can rest in your presence will bond to you far more deeply than one who is constantly stimulated. Remember this. Women don't crave certainty about the future. They crave certainty about who you are. A consistent man removes doubt, not with reassurance, but with repetition. Over time, your actions teach her. I can trust his presence. I can trust his word. I don't need to guess where I stand. And when a woman no longer needs to guess, she begins to invest emotionally without fear. That is safety. Not spoken. Not promised. Demonstrated. Article 3. Taking responsibility without defensiveness. There is a moment in every conflict where a man reveals who he truly is. It is not when things are going well. It is not when he feels admired or desired. It is the moment when he is at fault. I have learned that nothing makes a woman feel unsafe faster than a man who refuses responsibility. Not because mistakes are unforgivable, but because avoidance signals weakness of character. A man who cannot own his actions cannot be trusted with her emotions. Defensiveness is one of the most subtle destroyers of intimacy. It often wears the disguise of logic, explanation, or justification. But beneath it lies fear. The fear of being wrong, the fear of losing control, the fear of appearing flawed. A Stoic man does not fear being wrong. He fears being undisciplined. When a woman brings a concern, she is not placing you on trial. She is offering information about her internal world. How you respond determines whether she feels heard, or erased. A defensive man argues facts. A grounded man addresses impact. He understands that intention does not erase consequence. In my earlier years, I believed explaining myself was the same as taking responsibility. I thought if I could justify my behavior, the issue would dissolve. Instead, it deepened the wound. Because what she heard was not clarity, it was deflection. Taking responsibility does not mean self-flagellation. It does not mean submission. It means acknowledging reality without distortion. I was wrong. I handled that poorly. I see how that affected you. These words are not weakness. They are authority over self. A woman feels safe with a man who does not need to protect his ego at the expense of truth. When you can admit fault calmly and directly, you send a powerful message. My identity is stable enough to survive accountability. Stoicism teaches that the only true possession a man has is his character. Everything else, status, approval, affection, can be taken. A man who guards his character above his pride becomes unshakable. This is why responsibility creates safety without promises. Because a woman knows that if something goes wrong, you will not turn it into her burden. You will not rewrite reality to preserve your image. You will not gaslight, minimize, or redirect blame. You will face it. And facing reality is one of the most masculine acts there is. I have seen relationships transform the moment a man stops defending himself and starts owning his part. Tension dissolves. Her tone softens. Her guard lowers. Not because she won, but because she finally feels she is standing with a man, not against one. Responsibility signals emotional leadership. A man who leads emotionally does not wait to be cornered. He addresses issues early. He acknowledges missteps before resentment has time to harden. He understands that trust is maintained through repair, not perfection. A defensive man fears losing power. A responsible man understands that true power is credibility. When your words align with accountability, your presence becomes grounding. She no longer feels the need to escalate to be heard. She no longer feels the need to protect herself emotionally. She can be vulnerable, because you have proven that vulnerability will not be punished or dismissed. Responsibility also creates predictability. A woman learns that conflict with you leads to resolution, not chaos. That mistakes lead to growth, not denial. And this predictability creates emotional safety at a deep level. Remember this. Women do not need flawless men. They need honest men. A stoic man does not avoid responsibility because he knows something most men don't. Owning your mistakes does not diminish you. It defines you. And when a woman sees a man who can stand firmly in his flaws without collapsing or lashing out, she feels something rare. Relief. Relief that she does not have to carry the emotional weight alone. Relief that truth is safe here. Relief that this man will not abandon integrity when it becomes inconvenient. That relief is security. Not spoken. Not promised. Proven. Love is a great lesson in maturity. It challenges us with fragility, teaches us patience through waiting, and gives us strength after being hurt. Here, I don't just tell stories for you to listen to, but for you to reflect on yourself and find your own lessons. If you find it valuable, please click like and subscribe, so you don't miss out on the shares that can change the way you look at love. Now, get ready with me, because the rest will have a lot more depth waiting for you. Article 4. Respecting her autonomy without control or manipulation. One of the clearest signs of an insecure man is his need to control what he fears losing. He disguises it as concern. He calls it protection. He labels it love. But a woman feels the difference immediately. Control does not make her feel cherished. It makes her feel watched. And nothing destroys emotional safety faster than the sense that her freedom comes at a cost. I've seen men believe that closeness is created through constant contact, constant reassurance, constant access. They ask where she is, who she's with, why she took so long to reply. Not loudly. Quietly. Persistently. Enough to create pressure. A Stoic man understands a hard truth. What must be controlled is already lost. A woman does not feel safe with a man who needs to monitor her in order to feel secure. She feels safe with a man who is so grounded in himself that he does not need to intrude on her autonomy to maintain connection. Respecting her autonomy does not mean emotional distance. It means emotional confidence. It means you do not interrogate her independence. You do not punish her freedom with withdrawal. You do not manipulate her emotions through silence, jealousy, or guilt. You allow her to choose you freely. And choice is the foundation of genuine desire. Manipulation often appears subtle. A disappointed tone. A strategic silence. A passive remark meant to provoke reassurance. These tactics may produce compliance, but they erode trust. A woman may stay. But she will not feel safe. Because safety requires transparency. A man who respects her autonomy communicates directly. If something bothers him, he states it calmly. He does not test her loyalty. He does not manufacture jealousy. He does not attempt to control outcomes through emotional pressure. He accepts what he cannot command. Stoicism teaches us that attachment to outcomes creates suffering. In love, this means trying to secure certainty by limiting another's freedom. But certainty does not come from restriction. It comes from mutual choice, renewed daily. A woman feels safe when she knows she is not being managed. When she can express herself without fear of backlash. When she can have friends, interests, and a life without it being perceived as a threat. This tells her something essential. This man is whole on his own. And a whole man is not threatened by independence, his or hers. I've learned that the more space a man allows without resentment, the more a woman moves closer voluntarily. Not because she is obligated, but because she wants to. Freedom invites intimacy. Control suffocates it. A Stoic man does not confuse boundaries with control. He has standards, yes. He communicates expectations clearly. But he does not attempt to enforce behavior through fear or manipulation. If something violates his values, he addresses it honestly, or he walks away with dignity. And this, paradoxically, creates deep safety. Because a woman knows where she stands. There are no emotional traps. No hidden consequences. No shifting rules. She is not performing to keep the peace. She is simply being. And when a woman can be herself without self-censorship, trust deepens naturally. Control says, I don't trust you. Autonomy says, I trust myself. A man who trusts himself does not need to dominate the emotional space. He does not need to control her movements or reactions. His stability is internal. That internal stability becomes a sanctuary. Remember this. Women do not feel safe when they are watched. They feel safe when they are respected. Respect tells her that your confidence does not depend on her compliance. That your masculinity is not fragile. That your presence is grounded, not grasping. And when a woman senses that your love does not imprison her, but frees her, she relaxes into it fully. That relaxation is trust. Not demanded. Not negotiated. Earned. Article 5. Having a strong inner axis and a life beyond the relationship. There is a quiet kind of fear a woman carries when a man makes her the center of his world. At first, it feels flattering. Then it feels heavy. Eventually, it feels unsafe. Because when a man has no center of gravity outside the relationship, she becomes responsible for his emotional stability. And that is a burden no woman wants, nor can carry, for long. I learned this after watching love collapse not from distance, but from dependence. A Stoic man understands that love is not meant to replace a man's purpose. It is meant to complement it. A man with a strong inner axis does not look to a woman to define him. His values, discipline, and direction existed before her, and will exist after her if needed. This does not make him cold. It makes him grounded. A woman feels safe with a man who is not emotionally outsourced to her presence. Who does not need constant validation to feel whole. Who does not dissolve when she is unavailable. Because safety comes from knowing. If I step away, he remains intact. A man without an inner axis clings, not because he loves deeply, but because he fears emptiness. His mood rises and falls with her attention. His identity shifts with her approval. Over time, she feels responsible for managing his emotional state. That responsibility erodes attraction. A Stoic man takes responsibility for his inner world. He has routines, principles, and long-term aims that do not disappear in the presence of love. He does not abandon himself to be chosen. And this creates an unspoken sense of security. Because a woman is not looking for a man who needs her to survive. She is looking for a man who chooses her from abundance, not from lack. A strong inner axis shows up in subtle ways. He does not panic during distance. He does not chase reassurance. He does not collapse when plans change. He does not lose direction during emotional turbulence. His life has structure. His mind has order. His actions reflect discipline. Stoicism teaches us that the only true stability comes from within. External attachments are temporary. Purpose is enduring. A man who understands this becomes emotionally self-sufficient, not detached, but self-contained. And that self-containment feels safe. Because she can lean into him without fearing he will fall. A woman relaxes deeply with a man who does not need her to constantly prove love. She senses that he is not staying out of fear, but out of intention. This is powerful. It removes pressure from the relationship. It allows space for desire to breathe. It prevents emotional suffocation. And paradoxically, the less a man needs reassurance, the more secure the woman feels offering it. A Stoic man does not abandon intimacy for independence. He balances both. He shows affection without dependency. He commits without self-erasure. He understands that love built on two whole individuals is stronger than love built on emotional survival. At the deepest level, this is what safety means to a woman. This man will not disappear if I falter. And he will not break if I leave. Not because he does not care. But because he stands on something solid. And that solidity allows her to soften. Remember this. Women do not feel safe being someone's entire world. They feel safe being part of a well-built one. A man with an inner axis is not afraid of loss. And a man who is not afraid of loss does not cling, manipulate, or control. He remains calm. He remains steady. He remains himself. And that is the final form of safety. Not promised. Not negotiated. Lived. Conclusion. In the end, a woman does not feel safe because a man promises to stay. She feels safe because she senses that he is steady enough to remain himself no matter what happens. Safety is not created through words spoken in moments of emotion. It is built quietly, over time, through how a man shows up when life becomes uncomfortable. Through his calm in conflict. Through his consistency when nothing is demanded. Through his willingness to take responsibility without defensiveness. Through his respect for her freedom. And through the strength of a life that does not collapse around her presence. A Stoic man understands this. Love is not proven by attachment, it is proven by self-mastery. When a man governs his emotions, he becomes a place of rest. When his actions match his words, he removes doubt. When he owns his mistakes, he builds trust. When he refuses to control, he earns loyalty. And when he stands firmly on his own values, he offers security without pressure. Women do not need to be convinced to feel safe. They need to experience it. And experience is shaped by behavior, not declarations. This is why the strongest men rarely make dramatic promises. They do not need to. Their character speaks louder than any vow. Their presence answers questions before they are asked. A woman who feels safe does not cling. She opens. She does not test. She trusts. And that trust is not demanded, it is invited. So if you want to become the kind of man a woman feels safe with, do not focus on what to say. Focus on who you are becoming. Because when your inner world is stable, your relationships reflect that stability naturally. No promises required. So today's video has ended. Thank you for taking the time to watch it all. I hope you have learned valuable lessons and these shares will help you on your love journey. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive more interesting content in the future. I'm very grateful for your support and see you again in the next videos. Wishing you all love and happiness.